I actually was out on site this morning. My shoes were a little dusty, so I was thinking about that. I was going to get them polished this morning. I got busy and had drywall dust over them, so I have to do the back of the Levi polish and that. So, how many of you are agents? Okay, that's good. Almost everybody's an agent. Who has heard me speak before? A few. Who wishes they never have to listen again? One. So, all right. So my name's Randall Wall. I'm one of the owners of Equity Real Estate. For those of you that don't know, and I am the investor broker. I have been in the top 1% of agents for probably the last 15 years as far as transactions closed. I think when I looked yesterday, I had 69 so far for the year. And so I pretty much get this game. My aunt was Nancy Toffer, who most of you won't know unless you're probably older than I am. But she was one of the top real estate agents in the Salt Lake area for a number of years. And one thing she told me when she hit about 70 years old was she said, Randall, the biggest mistake that I've made as a real estate agent is I have never bought for myself. Okay? I've never bought property for myself. And so her retirement was based on what she had saved and what my uncle did, and everything else. But as an investor, I don't think that there's the investor side of real estate. I don't think there's the agent side of real estate. I think there's just real estate. And I like to take real estate to a higher level. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk a little bit about taking it to a higher level. So when we invest, when you're investing, who are you investing for? Yourself, right? When you come to a class like this, who gets the benefit? Hopefully you do, right? I mean, that's important. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to take you from here over here. Do you ever recognize Eric Tolman? He's been one of my agents for a long time. Going to put on the contractor hat. We're going to blend you together so you can see Eric used to run his business as the real estate agent with the contractor advantage. When I first met Eric, he was building garages and sheds for A-Shed. And that's a pretty interesting guy, but we're going to do that. So what is flipping? Flipping is where we buy a house for less money, and then we take it, we do some repairs, we do some remodeling, we do whatever it is that we need to do to it, and we sell it for a higher price. Some people are like, oh, flippers, the flippers suck. Well, a lot of flippers are real estate agents because the smart one have clued in that there is big money in this, all right? It's like this house. You look at a Magna house, $200,000 here, $389 with $50,000 in repairs over there. That's, you do the math, all right? Now, I haven't made, I'm trying to think of what the top amount I've ever made on a flip. Maybe $300,000-400,000. Most of our flips are probably $70,000. Lately, if they're smaller, under $450,000, probably 50 to 70. We've had a few 200,000s, a lot in the 100,000 range. So there's a lot out there. So why do we flip? Well, most of us flip for a couple of reasons. A lot of people, the first reason is it's the money, right? Because it's a big fat paycheck. And I like getting a big fat paycheck. There's nothing like seeing $100,000 come your way. It takes a few deals to do that. I mean, even if I just sold a $3 million deal in Park City, and it'd take 3 of those to equal, one of these flips for me. So sometimes there's also a downside. So it's never all happiness and blue sky, all right? There's also potential for screwing it up. So if you do it wrong, you can go bankrupt. Now, in full disclosure, I have done more than probably close to 800 or 900 remodel projects. I stopped counting years ago at 500. I've lost money 3 times. I lost $50,000 back in 1990, I think it was 97, on my very first flip. I didn't know anything. I bought a house. I came to Utah. I'm from Oregon. Water is everywhere up in Oregon. I came here. I bought a house on Goshen Street over in Glendale, and it was right on the Jordan River, and I'm like, waterfront property, right? Yeah, it's great. So I did everything from the sewer to the roof, moved walls, had a Habitat for Humanity come in. They came in and, Mr. Wall, we're going to do this project across the street. We're going to put 3 houses in. They're going to be nice. The neighborhood values are going to go up, et cetera. Will you sign off on it? And I'm a capitalist. And I'm like, yeah, people should be able to do what they want with property, right? Should be able to put houses in, make money. So I signed off on it, and they put 6 houses in. And I don't think they ever got a lawn in the entire time that I was there, but it turned into like a ghetto right across the street from this house. So I lost $50,000 on my very first flip. I lost about $2,000 6 years ago in Tooele because I couldn't stand to leave this house ugly. And so I wanted to create a master bedroom out of it. And so a couple $1,000 I lost on that one there. And then in about a month ago, I lost $840,000. So you want to make sure you do it right. Now I've done more than, we'll say what I did 7 years ago at 500. I lost money 3 times. I'm probably okay overall. The 840, it was largely COVID. Park City closed Park City down. They stopped real estate showings. They cut the ski season down. All these different things happen. It was a perfect storm of misery. And so all we were left with was cash buyers. And so I thought, all right, before this ends up being $1 million, let's get out. However, 800 grand's 800 grand, but I didn't really notice it. And why didn't I notice it? Because I was killing it down here. I've got like 10 flips going right now. I flipped one 2 doors down from me. I'll show you in a minute. Made 100 grand on that one, did 100 grand on another one. Those of you that came to my wholesaling class, I made 74,000 twice in a month and 35,000 on wholesale. So it's all about the averages and trying to eliminate the risk and do things in the right way. And as you do that, you'll do better. So the first time I had no experience, didn't know what I was doing and thought that Glendale was like, waterfront property should be really great, right? Until I saw a body floating down the river. No lie. There were some interesting things at that time. The second time was my choice. I could have made money on it, and I just didn't. And then the third time, well, COVID happens, and it's life. We just got to be we got to be adaptive. So what can you flip? You can flip everything. So this is a castle. This is Moritzburg. Has anybody ever seen Moritzburg Castle outside of Dresden in Germany? I went over there about 5 years ago to flip a castle. I have friends that's what they do, is they flip castles. And so you can flip castles and make good money. One bought Martin Luther's wife's castle for $300,000, put $300,000 into it and sold it for $1.5 million. So it's not a bad, not a bad deal. I had one that was down here. You can kind of see it back there. It's 15 acres at 65,000 feet with similar numbers. So there's a lot that you can do. You can flip castles. You can flip apartment buildings. You can flip office buildings. You can flip huts. I actually have a couple of those in Asia. And actually, Asia, anybody ever done real estate in Asia or looked at real estate in Asia? Man, that is a happening market. It's 30 to 50% increases a year. It is amazing what's going on over there. A lot of people flip houses that are underwater. They'll go get short sales and flip those. But most people just take a house like this one in the neighborhood. So this is like 2 doors down from me. And this is an old guy named Malcolm. And he's lived there for quite a while. And so I saw him moving his stuff out with some of his family members. I said, Malcolm, where are you going? Oh, I'm moving into assisted living, facility. I'm gonna do that. I said, great. Well, I said, what are you doing with your house? He said, I'm gonna sell it. I said, Malcolm, you've been a good neighbor. I'll sell your house for free, And so I offered to sell it for free. He says, well, it's got like 30 years worth of junk in it, and it needs fixing up, and it really wasn't in bad condition. I said, well, all right, I'm heading out of town. Let me send over one of my guys. We'll make you an offer on it. If you like the offer, we'll buy it. If you don't, I'll sell your house for free, right? So it's kind of a win-win. Well, he liked the offer. So I bought the house. I paid $235,000 for it. I did it seller financing, which is really good. I gave him like $20,000. I only need 20 grand now. I won't need the rest of it for probably 6 or 8 months. So great. So $20,000 down. I put $80,000 into it. I took a $94,000 profit. And so it is amazing what you can do in this business with a little leverage and some tools. So here's the mechanics of a good flip and how to boost some of your profits. So you make money when you purchase, all right? So you want to buy right. Everybody thinks, well, you make your money when you sell, but sorry, if you didn't buy right, there's no money on the sales side, okay? So we always make money when we buy right. You make the right repairs that are going to maximize your returns and leave the property looking spectacular, okay? Now, something to remember here is I'm condensing this down into a couple of hours from something I would usually do over 6 hours. But guys will say, well, what about, rewiring the whole house? Nobody cares, okay? If they can't see it, they don't care. Now, the exception to that would be if it's ungrounded. We'll usually go in and put grounded stuff, but I had some guy says, well, I'm going to put a 250 amp box and I'm going to do all this stuff. And I was like, that's all great if you're going to live there, run 3 welders and, and a small shop, but nobody cares. If they can't see it, they don't care. What they can see is what they care about. So you make sure that you're always doing the right things to the property, okay? And the right things are the things that you can see. You're going to do it in a timely manner because when a market's going up, a rising tide lifts all boats, okay? How you doing? But generally speaking, it's expensive to hold on to property that isn't generating an income. Now, I pay 12% on most of the property that we do. So I use hard money. Or it's not real hard money, but it's friends. I've got a Greek dentist. I've got a guy in Qatar. I've got school teachers from Oregon, trusts from California, friends, family, you name it. And I pay them all 12% interest. So at 12% interest, I really don't want them to get paid any longer than I have to pay them, right? I'm happy to help them out, but I don't want to do that. So I want to do it timely, so I'm minimizing the holding costs. And you want to maximize the layout and increase the square footage when feasible. So, and then obviously sell for a great profit. But let me talk about maximizing the layout. So most homes can handle one weird thing. So if there's one thing that's a little off about them, most people can deal with that. They can't handle 2, all right? So one weirdness, yeah, okay, maybe. 2, no, it's not happening. So you want to make sure that the layout is conducive. These days, open and bright is a good thing. If you can make it contemporary, you're going to get 20 to 30% more on your remodel. If it's a warm contemporary. But there is a lot of value out there by doing the right thing. We'll talk about who you want on your boat, teaching you or helping you decide what your plan should be on it. Square footage when feasible. So I can do slab on grade for about $100 a foot. Now studs are up a little bit, so maybe it's 120, 130 right now. But I can do that. I have my own construction company. I've got 3 crews. We can do that pretty consistently without the wet work. So if I'm up in the Harvard-Yale area or anywhere that is 200 or more a foot, what do I want to do? Add square footage, right? I just did this in Park City on Meadows Drive. I added close to 1,000 square feet, and they're at 600 a foot. And so and I was at 150 a foot to add that square footage. So that's like a $400,000 profit just by adding that square footage. So if you can add square footage, great. Now you can't just add square footage to add square footage, but a lot of the houses that are in desirable neighborhoods here in Salt Lake and a lot of the areas on the fronts are older. They're older, they're established, they're bungalows, they're houses that were built during the 50s, during a different time period. And so if we can add square footage, or even the 70s, if we can add square footage to it, it makes it great. I sold a house up on Wallace Lane to Snoop Dogg's party planner. And that's what we did, is we put a big L off the house and put it back there, and he loved it, and I made a grundle of money, and he was very happy. And this was probably 5-6 years ago, but he told me that Snoop Dogg spent $120,000 a month on parties for his entourage. So I thought that was kind of funny, but that was his job, was to allocate the $120,000 a month and then a couple of big events during the year. Okay, so key steps. You again make the money when you buy, so buy it right. I can't say that enough times, okay? You want to buy it right. Number 2, get an inspection, all right? You might miss something. If you're not a contractor, if you're not doing this day to day, you might miss something. So I'm a contractor. I was the largest builder in Eastern Oregon in 100 miles. I have majored in crappy houses, okay? I have done a lot of it. And I still screwed up on one I bought on Harvard Avenue. I bought one on Harvard Avenue. It was an old house. I'm like, yeah, this is really old. It hasn't been updated in 60 years. I walked in and out, around it, put it under contract, showed up with my crews to tell them what I wanted to do, and I was like, ah, crap. This has only got a 120 volt electrical system in it. You know, no 220, so I had to go and redo the whole house, which was okay, but I missed it. So just if you don't see very many of those, but typically on the meters it'll be a red 120 that you'll see in there instead of a 240 volt. So you'd find it by looking at the meter. But if you have a home inspector look at it, who, assuming he's credible, so you got to be careful, because in Utah, if you have a ladder and a dog, you can be qualified as a home inspector. Okay, so make sure that you have somebody qualified inspect it, because it's important. They're going to pick up stuff that you don't, and for the $200, $300, $400 that it costs, it's well worth it. And I actually pay a little less because I'll have somebody go through and inspect it, and then when I'm done, I have them go through and inspect it again. I pay them a little bit more because I don't want anything to come up in my home inspection that I'm not expecting. So, sewer scope. Who has done a sewer scope? Okay, a few people. Sometimes you can get done for free. Usually it's around $100, no more than 2. I don't think I've ever paid. But a sewer line can be very expensive. I just had one of my agents who, we sold a property, and I guess it's only been 2 weeks, and the lady's like, it needs a new sewer line. Well, she didn't have a sewer scope done. And it was working fine. The seller didn't have any problem. It was working fine then, but it didn't work for her. So you want to do that. Another friend of mine called me in a panic. Randall, I've got this house. It's up in Mill Creek, East Mill Creek, and I'm getting bids for like $20,000, $30,000. I said, what's the problem? He says, well, 11 feet down, my sewer line's got to break. So a sewer scope is worth doing. And I have replaced as many as 4 sewers in a year. So I'll give you the pro tip here. So anytime you talk to a plumber, it's expensive. Okay? It just is. And they're not the best at digging either. They want to bring in a bunch of crap, like, let's go bring a backhoe and a dump truck and whatever else. And they're not really any good at a backhoe, because sorry, here in Utah where we're at, none of them are really doing new construction, and they're not digging anything out. So it's a chance for them to pay at your expense. Now, I grew up on a backhoe. I don't use a backhoe for sewer lines. I haven't used one in 10 years. I hire a couple of guys from standing out front Home Depot or somewhere else, and I have them hand dig it. Okay? It's cheap to have somebody hand dig it. Most sewer lines are about 4 feet deep, You'll get a few that are deeper, but probably on average, most of the ones I've done 4 feet deep. And you can have a guy dig it really cheap. So the guy that got the $30,000 bid, I fixed his for $654. I had a guy come dig a hole 10 feet wide and 11 feet deep. Cost me $450. He was a nice Mexican kid named Ramon. Dug this hole, took him 3 days to dig the hole. And then it cost me $200 to have a plumber climb down in the hole and put in about this much ABS to fix the problem. And so since it's a friend, I charged him $654. Yes?
I was wondering, what do you mean by sewer scope? Do you do it yourself, or do you pay
No, you pay for it. So it'll be like, a lot of times the guys like Roto-Rooter or somebody will have it's a camera. They run down the sewer line.
Oh, okay.
And what you're looking for is breaks. There'll be bellies. It's okay if it has a little belly, but if it's bad enough that it's completely underwater, then it means that it's likely that that the waste won't flow the way that it should. And so, yeah, the roots, you'll see how many roots in there if you need to get it, rooted out. That's a big thing, and that's important. So your pro tip is, if you ever have a sewer line that goes out at your house, get the Boy Scouts to come over and dig it out. I've actually done that. Because like scout troops always need money for camping equipment. And so, like, I'll give you guys $500 to dig it out. And sure enough, from here to that wall, I had a nice, wide, deep thing, and we replaced the sewer line. So that's good. When you are after an inspection, don't do the work yourself or plan on doing it yourself. All right? Now, if you're a contractor, I do a few things myself, like only at my house because I want to, but even then I've got 2 of my crew out there doing the work today. So I'll go in and paint one little room tonight because it makes my wife happy. She's a doctor. She likes getting hands-on with things. And so, she thinks it's the greatest thing ever. So I'll go do that and make my wife happy. But you're not making money if you're doing the work, because you're not doing this every day, and you don't need another job, do you? If you wanted to be a contractor, you'd have got a tool belt on, walked down to Home Depot and said, pick me, pick me, pick me. There's a lot more money in real estate. So you want to be managing the people, not doing it yourself. You just don't need an extra job. Place the property competitively. So right now, everything's competitive, it seems like, but you want the best value, best bargain for the money. And then don't be cheap, and make sure you pay a full commission to the buyer's agent. Now, we're all agents. You would think that would be obvious, but sadly, it isn't always obvious. So things to look for when buying. So we talked about one, does it have an updated electrical and at least a 220 volt service drop? Okay, that's a big deal. The condition of the roof. You want to make sure that you would be comfortable with it on purchase. Now, I know that it says, how many years is it typical it's supposed to be good for? Like on,
Supposed to be 30, but
so 30 for your new one, but if for an FHA loan, it's got to have at least how many years? 5 years, yeah. I wouldn't want to buy a house that had only 5 years left on the roof, would you? I mean, it usually look like crap, but number 2, it's expensive. So you need to make sure that you got to make sure that you account for that. So if you wouldn't buy it, neither would anybody else. Now, if the roof has got a lot of service life in it, I'll give you another pro tip: paint it. Okay, if it's ugly and it's not worn out and it's got like 10 years in it, you don't like the color, it doesn't fit the new color of your home, etc., paint it. They make special paints. You don't even really need a special paint, but they make special paints for painting a roof. I've done this for years, and it makes them look like they're brand new, and everybody is happy. And the building inspector gets up and looks at it, and he's like, yeah, this roof looks fine. It's got 10 years in it at least. We're good. So you can paint it. HVAC, water, the water heaters, does it have it? So I've had a house that didn't have a water heater in it once. But what condition is it in? How old is the furnace? Does it look like it'll run? Now, the building inspectors are not the building inspectors. The home inspector will say, oh, it's past its service life. A furnace will probably last a good 20, 30 years, to be honest. But if it looks old and crappy and it's not functional, we want to make sure that we take that into account. Foundation issues. So here's my rule of thumb. If you can stick your finger in the crack, it's a problem, and we got to have a structural engineer look at it. Okay? So my pinky, if my pinky will go in, then I need to have a hard look at it from somebody that's an expert, because that can be an expensive fix. You're doing helical piers, and I had a house that I almost lost 2 years ago, I think, over in, it was about 9th East and about 30-something South, and it had so many foundation problems. I sent one of my guys over, we put it under contract, we bought it. Fortunately, we stole it. We got it at a great price. But as soon as we peeled the walls off, I was like, oh my gosh, the foundation's crumbling, right? So I jacked the house up to pour a foundation under it, and it started to rain. And all of a sudden the sides are crumbling, and I'm looking at my jacks, and I'm worried things are getting a little wobbly and wet down there because it was pouring rain. So you don't want to have that happen, but that was one that had finger-sized cracks, and a lot of them. Have you done a sewer scope again? to make sure a sewer line doesn't need replacement? And have you tested for meth? Now, one thing you can use your home inspection for, or any of these items for, is to negotiate what? A lower purchase price, okay? So make it for your advantage. So the golden ratios for purchase. So when we talk about buying right and making our money when we buy, people are like, well, how do you know what to buy for? Well, there's a lot of numbers I look at. My minimum number is, so if an agent calls me and says, Randall, I think I have a deal, then I'm sure you've got texts from me and Trevor saying, hey, we'll pay your commission plus $3,000. Because if somebody brings us a deal, we're happy to do that. But if they call me and say, I've got a deal, I want to see a minimum of a $40 spread between the as-is price and the after repaired value price, the remodeled price. And if it's $40, it's got to be not much work needed, But at $40, I'm interested. And as president of the Investor Association, I took like 5 of my friends that were the biggest flippers in the state, and we all ran our numbers together and figured at $40, it looked like a good deal. That's where we were starting to be interested in moving upwards. So that was kind of a good thing. But when I buy the property, this is the number that I run off of. I ran off it for 20 years, and I have never lost money when I have used that ratio on a remodel. Park City accepted.
Question. So when you said $40, you're talking $40 a square foot?
Yeah, so if it's $100 a foot, I want to be able to sell the remodeled version of it for 140 or better. And at 40, I want just simple, like paint, carpet, maybe some kitchen cabinets or something, But 80% of the after remodeled value or repaired value. So if it's going to be $400,000 fixed up, so we've done our comps, we've looked in the area, and it's $400,000 is what a remodeled house that's similar to mine looks like, 80% of that is what? $320,000, okay? So if it needs $60,000 in repairs, what do I want to pay for it? $320,000 minus 60? $260,000, okay? 80% of after repair value minus repairs. I buy these all the time. In fact, I buy them at that ratio on the MLS. We find them on the MLS. We're to talk about where we find properties, but they're there. You got to look for them, but they are there. People always tell me, Randall, you can't do that. Randall, you can't do that. I've heard that like a million times. And $10 million tells me that, yes, I've been able to do that a few times. So this is something that you can do it again and again and again. And Cody Hoffein's a good friend of mine, and he said this last year speaking at an event we were both at, and he said, never take advice from somebody you wouldn't trade places with. Okay? So I don't take financial advice from my dad. Love him, he's a teacher, professor, or whatever, but no, or any of my brothers either. They take financial advice from me. Now, if I want marital advice, I'll go to my dad because he's been married for 59 years. My son's laughing because I've been married 4 times. But that's what he told me the other day. Yeah. I think I got it worked out. But so again, 80% of the after remodeled value minus the repair cost that you're going to incur equals the maximum purchase price you should be willing to pay. Okay? So 80% of the after repair value minus the repair costs equals the maximum purchase price that you should be willing to pay for a property. Now, ideally, you get an even better price than that. And so there's a lot to be said for negotiating. In fact, I'm going to give you a couple of tips here on how to double your income as an agent for most agents. Some of you, I'm sure, are expert at this, but there's 2 things. One is ABC, always be closing and ask for business. 2/3 of salespeople, real estate agents included, leave the appointment without asking for the sale. Okay? I've seen this a number of times. I've watched an agent go out. I walked in, followed him up. I signed him up in 20 minutes. And I said, well, after I signed him up, I said, why'd you go with me? Well, the other guy just gave us a presentation. It was nice. He had a flip chart and or a tablet and did all this stuff. But you just asked if you'd help, could help us sell our house. So always do that. And then the second thing is, we got Grant C. Slack here. No, he's not here. Is the money triangle. So the money triangle is, so if you come to this today and all you get out of this is this right here, it'll be well worth it for you. All right. Okay. Trial close up here. So the trial close is, can I help you sell your house? All right. And then in the lower right-hand corner, we have objections. Okay. The objection is, well, my cousin Sam, he's a real estate agent, and we kind of thought we might, we probably have to use him because he's family. Okay. Most people walk away. Most agents walk away. All right. On this side, we build value. So great. Cousin Sam's an agent. Is he a full-time agent? Well, no, he's not. Okay. He does it part-time. So have you ever loaned something to a family member or friend and it didn't come back, or didn't come back in the condition that you lent it out in? I see people, heads nodding here, heads nodding over here. We've all had that happen, right? Every day. And so I'll say, so why do you think that is? And usually the answer will be something like, well, because we're family, we're friends, then they're gonna, you're gonna love them anyway, right? So for most people, the greatest accumulation of wealth in their lives is their house. Would you think that's true? Yes. So do you want somebody who's part-time, who may not take it as seriously as I am? Because I'm all business. I am 100% focused on getting you the most money for your house. Do you want somebody part-time that may or may not take advantage of you handling the greatest accumulation of wealth in your family? Will you let me work with me? Right? Sorry, will you let me work with you? Trial close again, right? I just trial close them. Will you? Okay? Well, we feel bad about Sam. Okay, I understand. Loyalty is big. I have a family, love my cousins too. How about if we were to do this? How about if we were to give Sam 30% of the commission? It'd be about $3,000 on your house, just for being your cousin and just because you guys say so. We'll give him $3,000. He doesn't have to do anything. It's part-time for him anyway, right? And you're going to get the best guy available to help sell your house. Do you think that would work? You'll look like a hero to Sam, and you'll get the best person to sell your house. Yes, William?
What if they're already under contract?
Then you don't go do any of that. Yeah, obviously. But that's the thing. It's trial close. Objection, build value, trial close, objection, build value, trial close. If you walk away with nothing more than that, it's well worth it. And it's because most people walk away at the first sign of rejection. The first obstacle, they get up and pack their bags and are walking out the door. Don't do that. And then there's a lot of other things. I'll teach a class on expert skills for closing, but my face-to-face closing ratio is up in the 90%. I'm usually surprised if I don't close somebody. My closers, I've got closers I pay $200,000 a year. They're in the 85 to 90%, probably as good or better than I am, but they're going to see everything, and I'm usually just going out the door if it's looks like it's going to be a positive deal for us. But that's the big deal. Two things: ask for business, ask for the sale, always be closing. All right. Trial close, objection, build value, trial close. And once you've handled that, don't keep talking. Hand them the paper and ink the deal, right? All right. So where do we find these deals? People ask, a lot of times. So the MLS, there are deals there. If you know your values for the area, 80% ARV minus repair costs, you can carve out a niche. Like I did a whole bunch of houses up in Canyon Rim because that was, an area that I knew was really easy for me to quantify what a house was going to be worth fixed up, right? And so I made my offers. I've never made more than 20 offers without one acceptance. Now, do I really care if I get 19 no's? Absolutely not. Your ability to make money in this business as an agent is based upon your ability to handle rejection. Okay? If you can't handle rejection, you're not going to make nearly the money you could, if you're always walking away trying to avoid rejection. Okay? So you can do that. Make those offers out on the MLS. Just toss them out because you don't got anything better to do anyway, right? If you're not prospecting, you're not seeking new business, you're trying to find a deal for yourself, and there are deals that are out there for you. Driving for dollars. So we use Deal Machine for that. It'll go in and put a pin and give you the contact information of the owner of the property. But you're looking for the wob and the mob. So the worst in the block, ideally middle income houses. Okay? So if you're walking through West Valley, Sandy below, 13th East, we do a little bit higher than that occasionally. But we're looking for houses that have bad roofs, overgrown yards, cars in there, just, the worst on block, the wob and the mob, worst on the block, right? And we put those into our list on Deal Machine. We stick a pin in them. And then we go back on Deal Machine. I actually I have an employee in India, but you can do this yourself. But I send out a letter, I call them, I do whatever, follow up with the owners to see if they're interested in selling their house. That's actually the best list right there. Out of all the lists we use, is driving for dollars. So you're driving for dollars, getting a list of rundown property, and then reaching out and contacting them. Okay. List of out-of-town owners. Now everybody's hitting that, but why do they hit it? Because there's still deals there. So people that aren't living in the house. All right. People that they may have 2 or 3 houses, or they've got 1 house and they're living somewhere else. So that's important. Default property. So if property is going into default, a lot of times you can find a deal there as well. You can go contact those people. A lot of times these days you can actually buy the property, do a seller finance on it, help them to improve their credit, get them out, remodel the property, or just sometimes out and out sell it as is with minimal repairs like paint and carpet. Wholesalers. There's quite a few of those around. Rental property owners, a big plus. So especially owners that are managing their own property. Okay, that is a big deal. Who has rental property? Yeah. Who thinks that managing it yourself sucks, at least on occasion? Yeah.
Way too often.
Yeah, way too often. I rent my basement out. I have a property management company manage it. I don't have to deal with it. They were over there the other day changing the furnace filter. I was like, good job, So rental property owners is a big plus. Yes, sir.
About the houses the city owns.
City-owned houses? Well, it depends on what they're doing. The city doesn't really own anything to keep it. The only time that a city would own a house is if it was a tax take back. They're usually buying property because they're going to expand or build something. So if they're not, by all means, any house you can buy, but I've had a few over the years, especially in South Salt Lake, they own a number of houses, but they're next to a right-of-way. They're somewhere where they're planning on building or expanding. Yes?
Do you share this material with us?
If you signed up and left your email address back there, I'll share the slides with you. I'll have William do it. Yes, sir.
Where do you find the out-of-town owner list?
So you can actually Google that. There's list brokers like Listserv, ListNet. There's what's the is it Transperian, Equifax? I'm trying to think. There's the three credit agencies. One's really strong in Utah, and I've used them in the past. But if you Google how do I find an out-of-town owner list, that's a good place. Your best bet is to find a guy who's not a list broker, but a list originator. So like one of the credit companies that's originating the list, because a lot of times you'll have a list and then this guy will sell it to this guy and this guy will sell it to that guy who sells it to you. Then it's probably not as up to date. Yes?
What's the deal machine you were talking about?
That's an app. So Deal Machine is an app. So if you Google Deal Machine, William, what does that cost a month?
I don't know, it's changed recently, but it used to be like 69.
Yeah, you can put like 1,000 houses a month into it, or
There's also Propelio.
yeah,
It's a bit newer, like the old machine.
yeah, Propelio.
Yeah, I think it's 50 a month for Dale machine.
What was that again?
Yeah,
Propelio.
Propelio. Yeah, we're using both, so.
How do you spell that?
Propelio.
So William could probably talk. So William, how do you manage, driving for dollars if you're not doing it yourself? What's the best way to?
Well, we just ended up hiring someone to do it for $20 an hour, essentially. And you're typically able to do at least 50 an hour. You can pay them less if you really want to, but we also comp them for gas. This particular person that we hired is someone we like, so we're paying a little bit more. Yeah, and then we'll just assign them areas and have them drive up and down neighborhoods and add things to Deal Machine or Propelio, and then export the list.
We use the
I think
list.
it might cost a little bit extra money to skip trace the addresses, but
If you're trying to get the phone number,
yeah.
Ben verified it's only about
$69 a year,
Back
month.
skip
Yeah,
tracing for probably a lot cheaper, a lot
Yeah.
more cost effectively, but it really depends.
sure.
To verify it's pretty cheap, yeah.
Thank you. Investor associations, the Salt Lake Real Estate Investor Association is a great place to go and make contacts, and people are selling there. Family members and friends. Anybody had anybody that dies lately or in the last year? Not of COVID. I looked at the odds of COVID are like about the same as getting hit by lightning. It's 1 in 25,000. So if you know somebody that has died of COVID personally, it's 1 in 25,000. So you have better odds than that finding a house from a family member or friend. So a lot of times I get guys that want money fast. And it's funny because for the last 20 years I've told them, if you want the most money possible, fix it up, clean it out, list it with an agent and sell it. But they don't care. It's found money. Dad died, it's like my son is looking at my garage. I've got 2 garages and one's like huge. They used to build motorhomes in it. And so it's full of crap, full of tools. He says, it's going to have to die, deal with this when you die or, leave or whatever, And I said, yep, you, But that's a lot of times they just want money fast. And so it's quick. I mean, I can't begin to tell you how many times that their agent's like, well, we can get more money. And they're like, we don't care. Can we get money tomorrow? I'm like, yeah, we'll close tomorrow, no problem. So, vacant properties, okay, that's just a problem. Vacant properties, some jurisdictions you can get a list, you can check and see, in Salt Lake County who's got a list of vacant properties, because some places like Salt Lake City, you're supposed to have a permit to board the property, if it's vacant or whatnot, you're supposed to have, it on their list. Meth tag properties, so if you look at the health department for the various jurisdictions, you can, because that's just a pain. I mean, it's like, meth is the new, lead-based paint, but it's, I've done hundreds of meth properties. We've cleaned them ourselves, mostly. I've paid other guys to clean them a few times, but usually a 50-50 bleach water solution followed by 409, and you scrub the walls twice, then you'll do pretty darn good. It'll take it down to undetectable or non-detect. But you got to do the furnaces. So anymore, the prices for mediating it used to be like 10, 15 grand. Now it's like $4,000, so I have somebody else do it. But that's a good source, because people are still freaked out about it. I talked to a chemist from the U. He says Utah's limit is 1, where you have to disclose. He says that's probably not going to hurt an infant or anything else. And he said, to be honest, we don't really know, because California's is 25. Utah's is 1, California's 25. He says 50 might not be a big deal, but he says it's what's popular now. A few years back, it was lead-based paint again. We all had to be certified. So I got certified. I spent like a day a week testing for agents and friends and et cetera, because I was a certified lead-based paint inspector, and it was kind of fun to go out and swab it and do whatever, and then that passed, and It's something else, so we don't worry about that anymore. But ads, postcards, mailers, door hangers, radio, TV, etc. Anywhere you can get in front of somebody and say, look, I want to buy a house. You know, I believe that I have done more direct mail than any real estate agent in history in Utah, by a huge margin. I think 600,000 to a million postcards a year, and a similar number of door hangers on the Wasatch Front. It's about $4,000 per deal with postcards. It's about $1,500 to $2,500 with door hangers, and you got to do a lot of them. So you know it's like a $25,000 to $30,000 a month deal. But my best returns are not from postcards, mailers, or door hangers. They're from other lists, you know, driving for dollars and friends and associating and wholesalers, etc. I get more stuff out of that. It's just I got to be a lot of places a lot of the time, you know, and that's the key. To be a lot of places a lot of the time. So financing. So people are like, I don't have any money. Well, the house I made 90 whatever thousand on, I don't think that had any of my money in it. You know? So the best thing about real estate is leverage. Archimedes said if you had a lever long enough, you could move the world. Well, I just sold 3 houses, so I'm trying to move to cash, at least partially, because I think the market's shifting. And I can see some indications nationwide. But I just sold I sold one that I put $3,000 down on. I walked away with $370,000. Another one 4 years ago, I put $3,000 on. I walked away with $111,000. And then another one I put no money down on a seller finance. I did $126,000. So leverage is really good, and real estate is a great place to leverage. You use a hard money lender at 12%. They're usually going to charge you a point or two at 12%. You can use conventional financing. That's kind of a problem usually though, because most deals, they want money fast, you know. So if it's a family member, neighbor, or friend, they need to move in a month, then maybe you can use conventional financing, go in and buy it. Non-owner occupied, 20 to 25% down. You can bring in an equity partner and create a limited partnership, okay? A lot of guys will do it. You can pool money from friends and family in first position on a trust deed. So I do that. We have, depends on the year, but you know, $2, $3, $4 million, depends on what we've got at any given time. But it's, I'll put them all in first position on trust deed, you know. So most people used to think, oh yeah, you got to put the big guys first and everybody else second. Now we just put them all at fraction. We fractionalize it so they're all in first position based upon however much money that they've invested in there. So they're all protected equally. And so that's a good spot. IRA money. A lot of those guys will use their IRA money. I've got one teacher from Oregon who has a home equity line at 3%. So I pay 12%. So $100,000 is $1,000 a month. Their payment's 3%. So they're making they're paying $300 a month, and they're clearing $700 a month. And so it's not hard to sell people on this if it's secured by real estate, if it's first position on a trust deed. I don't touch anybody's money personally. It all goes to the title company and is dispersed that way and secured, but that's the way to do it. And IRA money, you know, you can use a self-directed IRA. You know, that's a good way to do it. A lot of people have places they've worked at in the past, might have money that's banked there. There's 2 or 3 different places here in Utah that you can set up a self-directed IRA. And actually you can make money. You can do at least one a year, so I mean, this is more taxy than you probably want. But if it's a Roth IRA and you used your money to get into it, whatever money you take out, like that $100,000, is tax-free. And you can probably get away with doing it once a year. If you do it 2, 3 times a year or more, you're going to get stuck with what they call an unrelated business tax. You know, it's UBIT, unrelated business income tax. But you can do it at least once a year in your Roth without having to pay any taxes. Yes, sir.
Isn't that UBIT still 20%, so it's still a cheaper tax rate?
Well, it could be, but it depends on your personal tax situation. So, yeah.
There's a solo pay setup that
set up in, that's just checkbook access.
Yeah, anything that you've got where you've got access to it and can make money off of it, you're good to go.
It's a 401k. There's ways you can set it up.
Yeah.
You don't have to use it.
Yeah, it's simple. Well, no, it has nothing to do with how you set it up. It has to do with how much business you do. Because what they don't want is they don't want guys who are in business being penalized by other people who that aren't paying taxes, can do things cheaper, buy things cheaper, etc. And so the government set it up, and it's typically you can get away with about once a year. If you're doing it 2 or 3 times a year, the IRS is going to ding you. Doesn't matter how you're set up. Seller financing is the smoking hot chick in real estate, okay? That is it. There is nothing hotter than seller financing for buying property. So we have been doing a ton of flipping, and 40% of the properties that we've been buying to flip over the last year and a half have been seller financed. You just have to ask. And so it clued into us, let's ask, because we'll give you, I had one up by the country club that was a rundown house, and it was, the numbers were a little bit on the edge from the holding costs. And they wanted 412, and the best I could do was like 400. I was like, I can't give you 400, but I said, however, if you'll hold the note for 7 months, I will pay you. It was $1,800, $1,900 a month. That was like $1,850. But you'll make that extra $12,000. And they jumped on it. Says, yeah, we don't have a problem with that. I said, we might be done sooner. It might be done in 4 months. But how about we just make it for 7 months, and I'll pay you $1,800 a month. And you guys carry the note, and then I'll give you the rest back. Well, at 12%, $400,000 is $4,000 a month. So it was a good deal. So I sold that property to Clay Rockwood, who does flipping as well. He's also a broker and an agent. But I called him up, and he's like, "Oh, those numbers are tight." But I said, "Oh, it gets better, Clay." I said, "How about if you only pay $1,800 a month for payments on our holding costs?" He was like, "I'm in like Flynn, done." And so he did it. So seller financing is great. You just got to ask for it. And then I've got materials on seller financing as well. We've done a ton of it, hundreds and hundreds. But that's a great way to leverage. Just huge. Just ask. Most things just are about asking. Yes, sir.
So with the seller financing, a little naive here, but you put in the cost to maybe fix up the property. Let's say you go in and fix it up. Is there something saying that they could come back on you and take those?
No. So basically, I'll just take a minute here and we'll talk about seller financing. So is this how I blank this, William? Okay. So seller financing, you have the same protections that the bank has. Okay. When you who's bought a property that's got a bank loan on it? Probably pretty much everybody at some point, right? So there's a trust deed and a note. So the bank gives you, the trust deed which secures the note on the property, okay? But who's the owner? Who's the titular owner? No, you are. The bank's got the loan, but you're the owner, right? I've got a loan on my house for $170,000 remaining, I think, but I'm the owner. They can't take it from me. If I stop paying, then they can foreclose, and 5 months later or 6 months later, they'll own the property, right? I'm the owner. So same thing happens in seller financing. You're doing a purchase and sale agreement. You're doing a trust deed and note saying, I'm going to pay this much for this period of time. This is the purchase price. These are the monthly payments, the balloon payment on the end. And so it's just ask. And again, if you were to go to GT Title and ask for Christina, she'd walk you through that. Or you could contact me and I'd say, this is how to do it. This is who to talk to. This is what you want to do. It should be a good thing. Any other questions on seller financing? Okay. People are like, what about due on sale? I'll just mention there is no due on sale jail. Okay. It's not against the law. And I have seller financed Utah housing. There's a way to do that. I've done it with FHA loans. I've done it with everything. You can do it. if you do it the right way. Knowledge is key, for everything. So, partnering. So this is important. So let's say you guys, we partner on a deal and we call each other partners. That's probably not how you want to do it. This is my partner. Like, I don't let anybody introduce me as their partner, even though I may have one, because partners are liable on-site, off-site, no matter what happens. If some guy goes out and runs over a kid or does something silly in his car, and you're saying, this is my partner, you could end up being liable for some of that or being sued because you're this guy's partner. And he was driving from his car to the job site or the house site. So you want to be really careful. There are ways to set that up, but just a handshake and saying we're partners is really poor. So I would say do not do that. There's too many things that can go wrong. Liability is a huge issue, just not a good thing. I'll talk about that in a second. But you want to weigh out the pros and cons. Now, what do you think is the reason that most people partner? Yes, fear and hand-holding. They're afraid. They want somebody to hold their hands. Is that a real good reason to partner? No. There you go. If it gets the ball rolling, go for it. Yeah, well, it'd be good for you or me. If you guys are afraid, bring me a deal and we'll partner. But it's good. But I just say I wouldn't get a partner because you're scared or you need hand-holding it. And maybe, if it got you going, great, but make sure your partner brings something to the table, all right? There's a lot of grief that's done by poorly structured partnership agreements. It's not a good thing. So partnership pros, well, the right partner can bring extra resources, including capital or maybe an extensive network. A real estate partnership with the right structure can allow both parties more flexibility when it comes to profits and losses. So I've structured things. If I've got a guy that needs, so like I didn't need a tax write-off this year. I think I'm getting money back. But some years I might. And so I might say, okay, how about I take the tax write-offs on this property this year? We'll split the profits, but the tax write-offs are going to me. So many things you can do. Partners can provide different perspective. And if you're getting a loan or you're trying to do takeout financing on a bigger project, sometimes having a larger portfolio of things to show to a lender can be more impressive. And they should revolve around balance, allowing both parties to divide and conquer the responsibilities, okay, and the workload. So basically, a good partner can bring something to the table that you might not have at the moment, whether it's capital, market experience, et cetera, in your area. So that's a big deal. Now the partnership cons, all right? There is partnership jail. Sometimes it can place an unnecessary strain on an otherwise healthy friendship. So I like working with my wife. We've been married for 4.5 years. We do great together. But I have had some other experiences that weren't quite that exciting in the past. Hopefully your marriage is your best partnership, but sadly it isn't always. But you want to make sure that your partnership can handle the strain, okay? Also, one partner might bring more to the table, creating a disparity in equity or skills. Like one person is doing everything. If you have somebody who's unequally yoked with you, all this paperwork that we deal with as agents is kind of meaningless. And I'm going to say that tongue in cheek, because I don't care how good your paperwork is. I have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on attorneys and paperwork and having everything, where every T is crossed, every I dotted. Doesn't matter. Somebody doesn't like you. They've got more money than you and a strong will to win. They're winning. I can remember my first week in business law, and the professor said, "Who thinks that the law is about justice and whoever's right wins in court?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Nah, it's the guy with the most money and the will to win." And so if you brought a guy in, if you had a really fat deal, and you're doing a bigger deal, and I see this happen at least once a year, and you bring somebody in and you've got nothing, you need to be really careful on who you're partnering with, because a lot of times the guy with the most assets walks with the entire deal, and and leaves that person out in the cold. And so, be careful. And make sure it's really clear, because you just want to make sure what happens if there are any issues delegating responsibilities or losses. The earnings should be split between the partners. That could be a problem. Undermining profit totals. Real estate partners can have different management styles, leading to organizational conflict, etc. It should all be spelled out. So put it in writing. I don't care if it's your mom. The faintest pencil is sharper than the brightest memory. Okay, that's a big deal. Write partnership agreements spell success. I've worked with a guy for years, done hundreds of projects with him. It's awesome. It's like being on the beach all the time. It can allow you to take vacations that are months long. It's amazing. However, there's also the wrong one, all right? And this is not the position that you want to be in, either on top or on the bottom. It's just not a good thing. So if you're doing a partnership, think long, think hard, get the right paperwork, spell everything out. So partnership paperwork might be an LLC. You want to leverage your asset, okay? And the asset should be each other's skills, finances, etc. So you can use a limited partnership agreement. This also limits your liability off-site or when they're off doing other things. If they run over somebody, for example, corporation, and always have a clear plan. This is what we're going to do. So I did a deal with Jane Spence, an amazing agent, brought me a deal. She was with another brokerage. So I'm always picking up agents, but she says, I've talked to my broker and another broker with our company, and they can't figure out what to do. I've talked to 4 agents. They don't know what to do. What do we do? So I looked at it and I said, okay, this is a little bit higher level. You need a partner. I'll partner with you. So we drew it up. All right, we're going to buy this. I'm going to handle the purchase. You're going to come up with the first 30,000, the first 15,000 repairs. I'll come up with whatever's left in repairs. And we figured about 30,000 in repairs. So we bought it. It was a great deal. I actually bought the note. They couldn't figure out what to do because the guy was in jail, in solitary confinement. It was going to foreclosure, had $600,000 in liens on it. Dad was in the picture as well, wanted money for his son. It was a mess. The son didn't want to didn't want to work with anybody on a short sale, right? So what do? So I bought the note from Chase because I noticed that one of their people had given contact information and how would you like to sell it out? And so I called him up and I said, hey, I think I'd be interested in buying this note. What would you sell it for? $90,000. So I bought it for $90,000, and it had primary mortgage insurance, which is funny because I foreclosed on the property, and I paid off. I think the other cost me like $4,000 for the other $400,000 or whatever it was. I got a $45,000 check 45 days later because of the insurance that I had on it. I sold it for $330,000. I was into it 45 at purchase, 30,000 in repairs. But I spelled everything out with Jane. What I was going to do was buy the property, handle the paperwork, provide the construction crew, the purchase money. She was going to come up with the first $15,000. I was going to be in charge of the project. She was going to be my silent partner, and cash out at the end. We'd split it 50-50. And so it was great. And we've done a few deals like that, and she loves me, I love her, and life is good because we did it the right way. So we're talking about paperwork. William, what time is it? Okay, good. All right. Have the proper home insurance policy. You can't use a regular home insurance. If you're remodeling the property, you need to have one that's good for a vacant policy. Because if something goes wrong, they won't cover it. Okay, ask me how I know this. Okay, so make sure you've got a vacant policy that's good for when they're vacant. Title insurance is a must. All right. And people say, why title? They've only owned it for a year. The title insurance they had on it before should be good, right? Does anybody in here know Kip Roth? Three-fingered Kip. He's a great guy. He's a massive agent. He's back in North Carolina right now. So Kip started out, and we were working together. He used to be one of my agents. And he bought this house and didn't get title insurance on it. And it turned out that part of the house was on the neighbor's property, and there was a whole bunch of stuff with it. But he fully remodeled the house. The neighbors said, move it. You know, it was a mess. You don't want to be there. I had a house out in West Valley that I bought, and I'm going to sale on it, and all of a sudden I got a notice of default. And I was like, what the crap? We paid cash. What did, you know? Well, it turned out that like 11 years ago, the owners had borrowed money against this house, but the lender, the bank, had recorded it against the wrong property. So 11 years later, right the week that I'm going to closing, you know, they came forward and said, we want it, and put a notice of default, etc. So because I had title insurance on it, and I think it took like 3 years to settle that deal out. It was like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I think it just settled this year. I got notice on it. But the title company took care of it all. We got our profits. They fought the legal battles. They settled everything out, you know, and so it was done. So always get title insurance, okay? And how you hold title may matter. And I'm not going to talk a lot about trusts, but a little bit. So I do most everything in trust. You can call it a land trust. It doesn't say land anywhere on it, just says trust agreement. But it provides privacy, okay? Nobody knows who owns the property. This is useful in a whole variety of scenarios. A trust has three parts. Up here is the trustee. You've got the corpus, which is the body, the house, and over here you've got the beneficiaries. Well, I'm the beneficiary. In an inter vivos trust, a living trust, that means I control the trust, but my ownership in it is chattel interest, personal property interest. So it works for that. It also is helpful if you do something without a permit, and you can send whoever you want. I usually send some cute little girl from my office down to talk to them, and we're sorry, we made a mistake, you know. We get a permit. I've never been fined, never had any issues like that. They don't know it's the same guy the last 4 times that it happened, but it works. So, and I permit most stuff, but we have had a few. I did a garage up in the Avenues on P Street. For 6 months, we couldn't get past the historic and past everything else. They were like just dragging us out forever. And it had this old crappy fallen down garage. And so finally I was like, all right, just forget it. You know, so I canceled the building permit out, canceled everything out. 2 weeks later, my guys showed up on Friday, and by Monday morning, there was a nice 2-car garage that was painted and looked like it had been there for 10 years. And I've never heard anything on it, so it's all been good. But it may be helpful. And I don't like people knowing what I do either. Yes, sir.
Can we go back to insurance for a moment? You mentioned vacant home policy. Who do you use for that?
I'm using a GMI insurance right now. So Anderson GMI is he's a broker, and if you touch bases with William, I'll have him send you our insurance guy.
What's the name again?
Anderson GMI is
Anderson GM.
it's the name of the company. So don't be in a hurry. You know, everybody say, you know, they come to a seminar or do something, and they're like, I want to rush out there and buy a house right away. Okay. You know, they're like, hurry up, I got to buy, I just got to close on something. I don't know how many times I've heard that as president of the Investor Association. I just got to find a deal. I just got to find one. I just got to get one. Yeah, don't do that, okay? Make sure that the numbers work, all right? So I think this is from Alabama, you know. I'm in a hurry to get things done. Oh, I rush and rush until life's no fun. Well, that's what happens to you if you rush one of these deals, because it is, in fact, an unpleasant experience. So you want to make sure that you have a clear plan, all right? So everything that you do on this property, so we're moving on to actual work on the property. Make sure you got a plan. We're going to move this wall, we're going to paint it this color. You want to have a plan laid out before anybody sets foot to start work on the property, okay? Ask me how I know this. I had a house that I should have spent 30 grand on and $100,000 later because it just migrated. Oh, let's do this. Oh, that'd be cool. What about that? You know, it's not a good thing. If it's not on your plan, don't do it, all right? Or think really hard about it because it's got to be on your plan. It's just if it's not on your plan, don't do it. You know, in case of emergency, pray about it, think about it, talk to your partner about it, and then decide to do it. But don't wander all over. Also, always work from a list while remodeling. A list brings order out of chaos faster than anything else, okay? Brian Tracy. So if you do a list, we're going to do this, this, and this, because sometimes if it's your first time, even sometimes when it's not, like I did a big deal last year that tested me as a builder. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I had to break it down into bite-sized portions. Okay, here's my list, you know, step 1 through 5, and then a new list, 1 through 5. But put it on a list, okay? And if it's not on the list, don't do it. All right. So this is Randall's key to selling property and making money. I read this book. It was written by Kevin Myers probably 15 years ago. Best book I ever read on the subject. There's been people have tried to copy and written new stuff, but he covered all the salient points. And I used this when I was living in Burns, Oregon. So Burns, Oregon is a paradise for hunters and fishers. You know, huge trout. Every animal you can imagine to shoot is there. It's, you know, it's good. It's a hunting mecca. However, there was 25% unemployment the entire time I lived there. There was 100 homes on the market, and only 2 or 3 would sell every month. And so I learned some valuable lessons. And one of those lessons was it didn't matter that only 1 or 2 or 3 homes sold every month, as long as mine was one of them. Okay? And so I did a few things. You know, I would do crown molding, 4-tone paint job, things that made sure that my stuff sold always. And when we had the downturn here, I sold everything quickly. I sold at the top of the market because it was the best value in the price range, right? And I based it off of what I learned from Kevin Myers' book called Buy It, Fix It, Sell It, and Profit. So it's called CKB Sizzle, curb, kitchen, bath, and sizzle features, all right? And we're going to cover those. So curb appeal, you got to have some, all right? So important. Don't do this, all right? Don't say, can you imagine what this house would look like? That's like a carpet allowance. Is that the dumbest idea ever? Yeah. You know, the only time you would give a carpet allowance would be you had absolutely no money and you're hoping. Because they can't imagine past that giant Kool-Aid stain on the green shag, right? They just can't. I've had a few times for my clients, I paid for the carpet. I don't have any money. It's like, great, what will it cost? $8 grand. No worries, I'll pay for it. I'll put a lien on the house. I'll get paid when we sell it, you know. But we just don't have that imagination. You know, I mean, you might imagine a lot of things. What does she like to kiss? What does she look like? Whatever, you know, something. But we just don't have that great of an imagination when it comes to houses, okay? If it's not hormonal driven, forget it. So you got to have curb appeal, okay? People will say, well, Randall, I don't have the lawn in. It's just dirt. Put the dang lawn in, all right? Curb appeal. Who has taken buyers up to a house on the street only to have them say, we don't want to go in, right? So the whole idea is this. They pull up in front of the house and we want a yes, okay? They go to the front door. It's got to be a nice front door. It's got to open smoothly. You know, we don't want it sticking. We don't have any problems with the key or anything else because we want a yes at the front door. They step through the front door. Well, I'm looking in their living room. Oh, that's just beautiful. This is a big area. It's nice. Yes. So it's yes, 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 yes. So that if we do hit one weird thing somewhere in the house, like, I don't know, one of the kids' rooms is too small, you know, they'll look past it, or the chances of them looking past it are far higher. So we're trying to get yeses. So don't do this. Kitchens, second part, that's where people live, all right? That's where people do everything. You know, it's usually where families live, but I don't care who you are. It's just where everybody lives. It's where dreams are made of. And who decides to buy the house usually? That's it. And when you're a man, it's like, okay, I'm going to make my wife happy. I want a garage or somewhere to store my crap, right? Because I put my stuff. And I don't want a bunch of maintenance to take my time. But the women are dreaming about Thanksgiving, Christmas, baking cookies, you know, etc. Okay. Bathrooms, everybody needs a bathroom. And they want to be nice. You want to make them as nice as you can inside of whatever your budget is, all right? So we want to have a great bathroom. We don't want anything wrong. We don't want to have, you know, stained tubs and, you know, sinks that don't work and vanities with broken doors or any of those kind of things. So curb, kitchen, bath, you know, so important. Tubs. So I was over at a party the other night with Kia Burns. And their house, they remodeled it. It took them 2.5 years. It's beautiful. It's done. It's great. And I went into the master suite, and there's a little, now Kia's about this tall. So there was a little slipper tub about that long in there. But Mike was like, and she was there with him, she's like, I am not buying this house if I can't have my tub. I haven't taken a bath in 20, well, maybe a few in 20 years, but it's usually like, how quick can I jump in the shower? I might stay in the shower for an hour reading a book. I love my waterproof Kindle because nobody's going to bother me. I'm in the shower, right? You know, I put 2 60-gallon water tanks downstairs, so I'll never run out. It's awesome. But a tub, you know, most women, they just want tubs. You got to wash their kids. They're not throwing their babies in the shower. They're doing a tub, right? So it's tubs. Sizzle features. Let's talk about that. This is what makes your house stand out. So we talked about what I did in Burns and West Valley and everything else through the downturn. 4-tone paint job. Trim is your biggest bang for your buck, trim and paint. I put a lot of trim. I go to the home show every year, and one thing I've never heard is there's too much trim. In fact, most years, most people are complaining that it's all drywall. It's, you know, rounded corner, smooth corner, square corner, whatever. The windows are cased in drywall. The corners are all drywall. People hate that. Everybody likes trim. I've yet to find somebody that doesn't like trim. So be aware of that. Steam showers. Okay, they say that's one of the hottest trends or whatnot. I looked it up today. I've been doing it for a couple of years. So usually a steam unit costs like $3,000, but I go to AliExpress and I buy them from China, and it's the same people that send them over here, and they're $300. I'll buy them like 10 at a time, have them sent over and, you know, on a pallet. Yeah, so they work, you know. And even in, you know, even in houses, if I have a house that's got something funky, but I really need it to move, I'll spend $300 on putting a, you know, steam unit in there and call it a day, okay? Architectural design, window seats. People love window seats, okay? It's just, it's a big deal because they're looking up and down the street, and all the houses are kind of the same, you know, because they're, you know, whatever, model homes, neighborhoods, etc. But they remember the one with the window seat. You want to use your imagination, okay? So I did probably the first, maybe the only glass floor, but the first glass floor that I'm aware of in Utah in a residential house up on Hercules Drive up in Mount Olympus. It was interesting because you could look down here, from here you could look down and see the fireplace down below. And so you could see both fireplaces burning at the same time. And it was interesting because women over 40 were like, they'd skirt the edge of it, you know, didn't want to walk over it. Women under 40 didn't care. But it was just kind of funny. They'd say, what about your skirt? You know, what about this and that? I said, put a rug over it, you know, or I thought about smart glass. So if you've ever seen smart glass, you can flip a switch and it goes opaque. So if I did one in the future, I'd probably do that just because it's kind of cool. But it was really cool. But it freaked me out. So I'm with my guys, we took a picture on the back side. And we're all like hugging the edge because it's, you know, you're 10 feet up, you know, because it had a high ceiling in the basement. But it sold that house. And it sold it during the worst of the down market. You know, and so, and it cost me probably $2,000 to put that in. So it was worth just the holding costs alone. It was really good. Even in starter homes, people dream, okay? Crown molding, granite counters. It's become more ubiquitous, but still, I'm still seeing some what do they call that countertop with the thin. Quartz would probably be okay, but it's the laminate. I'm still seeing laminate countertops in some homes, and it's like nobody wants that. Garages, steam showers, wood floors, crown molding again, just because it's cool. I mean, it just is. But the important thing is this: you just want to stand out. Okay, you want your house to stand out. Now, in today's market, if it's reasonably priced, it's going to sell. That house, I'll show you a picture of it in a minute. It was 2 doors down from me on my street. I thought the max value we would get was $400,000. I thought that would be a push. We listed it high. I had 4 offers at $450 the first day. And they said, and 4 of those, I had 14 offers total. 4 of them said, we don't care about appraised value. We'll pay $450. So I took the one with the guy that was cash, and it could close in 2 weeks. And in fact, I think most of the homes I've sold the last 2 months have sold for an average of $30,000 over appraised value. It's a new reality, right? But stand out. And this market will shift. Personally, I think we're going down hard, and there's some weakness across the country in different areas. I went to an economic conference last week. It's high level with people all over the U.S. But we'll see. You never know. Nobody's got a crystal ball, But when the market shifts and everybody's selling, you want to be this house. And I made a crap ton of money during the down market, during the worst of it, because my house has always stood out and they always sold. And when you're struggling for commissions, it's nice. In fact, my average profits from flipping houses on the low end was probably $30,000 higher than it is today. So it works. Get help with your plans. That's important. Get an architect if you need it. Get somebody who has great taste. Find a woman. This is what I do. I find 3 women that I think have impeccable taste. Okay? I don't pick my wife. My wife is Mother Teresa. She's wonderful. She's beautiful. She's amazing. But she's from Nepal. And they have a whole different standard for houses. And so bright colors, low roofs, etc. But I pick one of her friends. Hey, which one of your friends' house do you like the most? Oh, okay, So I'll pick a couple of friends, say, this is what we're thinking about doing. And then I'll run with one color pattern for a while until I get bored of it or we hate it, and then we'll switch to another one. But that's important. Know your end buyer. So if you know your customer, life is going to be much easier. If it's a family, then maybe you put a playhouse in the back, the backyard. You spend $1,500 for a playhouse because nobody else has one, Yeah, but know your customer and then build to them. Remember, it's a business. The first house I lost $50,000 on, I was a UPS driver hauling sheetrock in the back of my UPS truck, dropping it off at the house, and I fell in love with the project. And so and then I had Habitat across the street. That was a problem. But I just did so much on that house. I put $1 million house in Glendale, so it wasn't a good thing. So who's going to do the work? That's important. Figure out who's going to do the work. All right, so we're going to talk about that. Finding contractors. So here's how I find contractors. I assume that it'll probably work for you. Right now it's pretty hard because there's so much business out there for contractors. It's one of the industries that's doing great. Equity last month was up 20% from last year. I think we'll probably be up somewhere between 12 and 15% year over year. So some businesses have been hammered and killed. One of my friends, Steve Weber, I was on a mission with him in Spain years ago. He's been dying for 8 months. He was making a killing with those Waffle Love trucks or whatnot, had them going in Utah, had them going in Texas. Then all of a sudden this stuff happened and he's been hating life. But for right now, thank God, and I mean that in the most literal sense, we've been doing well. So friend referrals are the best, okay? So if you can get a friend that's used a contractor, somebody they like, get a hold of them, get that referral, check them out. Facebook friends. I was just pulled this from a couple that I did in 16 and 17, where I was looking for cement contractors and foundation contractors on Facebook. You can ask. In fact, I just posted an ad. I'm looking for a laborer right now between 15 and 20 bucks an hour that wants to learn construction. And so I put that on Facebook as well. Where contractors hang out. If the guy looks like a contractor, Home Depot, Lowe's, walk up to him and ask. If I need drywall guys, I'll walk up and ask those guys. I've got guys now, but I'm always looking for new guys. And so we'll walk up to them and say, hey, do you do drywall? Yes. I've got a project. Now sometimes these are guys that are working for another builder, and they've got a day job, but they'll do yours nights and weekends. So I've got a guy, I think his name is Juan, who does my roofs for us. And average price for a roof is $600 to $800 in labor. I mean, I just had him do 24 squares for $800. You can't beat that because he's got a day job, right? This is found money. He's really fast. He came on Friday night, did it Saturday, and finished Sunday. And we paid for the materials. So it's just, it's a big deal. Post an ad. You can try that, post that, Craigslist, anywhere, and see what you come up with. Be careful on this one right now, though, because if they don't have work, could be a problem. Other job sites. I love stealing contractors from other guys. So I'll go to the site. There'll be these guys working, and I'll say, hey, you interested in some more work? What do you like? What do you got? And so I'll say, well, we're doing a lot of business. We're like in the top 10, customers for Home Depot, and so we've always got projects going. We haven't been laid off in 15 years. We'd be happy to have you come bid one of our jobs. So I'll just go over. What time is it, William? Time check?
1:40.
Okay, well, good. I just kind of had to guess with this one, so it's kind of working out all right. Yes, sir.
The question on the contractors is, have you ever used a handyman?
So if you can use a handyman instead of a contractor, great. So paint, great. Installing cabinets, great. They're going to be cheaper than contractors.
What do you generally pay per hour?
So it depends. I've got my own company and my own crews, but a handyman will cost you probably anywhere from 20 to 35 bucks an hour, 40 bucks an hour. Contractor is going to cost you from 35 to 60. Yeah, it just depends. But here's the key with that. So when I was a builder, doing only building, that would have been 2004, I charged a minimum of $35. So that was 16 years ago. I charged $35 an hour, $250 to show up, plus 20% for profit and overhead. Okay. But my highest paid guys was 16 an hour at the time. So he's the guy I got doing the work. So you want to go hire that guy to come do your project. See what I'm saying? And that's, if you're doing framing, it really is a good idea to get a permit. So I personally don't have a problem building without a permit as long as it's built to code. But I'm a builder and I build to code. Because the worst thing that can happen to me by law, by statute, they can't send me to jail over it, but they can double fee me for whatever their permit fees would be. Okay. But one of my friends, Mike, had some guy come in and do some framing in a basement. Well, he put all of the studs on the floor and against the walls without using pressure treated wood. So then there was a flood, the drywall opened up. Now he's got a $40,000 problem with the buyer that he sold the house to, that he flipped. So it's kind of good to have somebody that knows what they're doing check, and usually a permit will handle that. Now, sadly, South Salt Lake, they sub out their inspections. So he did have a permit, and he did have it inspected, and they didn't catch it. But he's still the guy on the hook for it. So this is one I did here. You can see this is what it looked like when we started out. This is what it looked like we ended up. Kitchen sizzle features. So right here, you know, it's like I said, these houses built in what, 60s, 70s. Used to be a wall there. Well, it's got a beam up in the attic right now running from here to here. So we've got a great room because great rooms are fairly popular, okay? It's got vinyl floors. And in back here, you can see that it's got a window seat, okay? And so it looks really good. And it looks good because it looked good. What I thought was going to be a max of I thought it was going to sell between 385, a max of 400,000. I set the price for that area, which is kind of funny. So I live in White City because it's right on the canyon, and I've got 2 garages, and one is massive. It's like 20-something feet tall, 70 feet long, and 40 feet wide. And so on a half acre. And I was like, nothing is selling at that price, right? Well, this one did. 450 overnight, done. Nobody cared about appraised value. Appraised value is probably 400. Except for now, it's been reported on the MLS, so now it's a comp for higher values. Dorchester, I bought this one on Dorchester for like 385, 390 something. Up above the Capitol. This is what it looks like today. So before, after. Can you guys see that all right back there? Yeah, so the front door is here. Before, and right there was the front door. Now, there's the front door. Okay. Okay. Changed the roof line, put an addition up there because it's $400 a foot.
This is above the Capitol building. You used to pay for it.
Yeah. So, yeah, we changed that. We had to make sure that the Lamborghini would fit in the garage. That was a big deal for the buyer. That was his deal. Can I fit my Lamborghini in there? So and that's what it's like today. And I changed the roof line. Absolutely. Put a master up here. It's funny. So we did this. From this kitchen, this was the kitchen, what it looked like. In fact, we have, William, you want to hit those lights back somewhere? You can just kind of camp on the light. So be careful if you're like tipsy, and we'll, okay. Yeah, go ahead and turn them down. Perfect. So here, I'll go back so you can see the front again, just in case. So this is what it was when I bought it. That's what it looks like now. Okay. It had this kitchen, small, crappy kitchen with hardly any windows, to that. This bathroom to this. You can see the tub over there. It's got, you know, the vanity, steam shower, everything.
How long ago was this?
A few years ago. Yep. From this to this.
Go back. Not the same area.
That's actually the living room. That's the living room when we bought it, and that's what it looks like now.
Looks exactly the same.
That's what I was aiming for. So there's a lot of things you can do. So we bought it for, I think it was $385 if I remember right. Can you read? I can't read that. Bought it for $385. Spent $200 and change on it and sold it for $800,000. And it just sold for $1 million, like 2 years later. So yeah, it's you can do amazing things. Go ahead and turn the lights on. So selling, and a lot of the stuff I do is not high end like that, but those are kind of fun ones. Selling, tell a story that's relatable, relevant, emotional, and engaging. I don't know how many people are still tied up in the 255 characters in the remarks section as agents. It's nuts. So the market's crashing, banks are closing every day. I've got a house up on about 20, I don't know, must have been like 20 something south, maybe 19 south, on Texas Street, just below Foothill. It's got a metal roof on it. I should have pulled that one up here. But I did a great remodel, but I decided not to do the metal roof. And I just had it under contract with the doctor. We went to close on it, and the day of closing, Bank of America just filed bankruptcy. You know, and so we're sitting there when they tell us that, and I was like, oh, crap. So I put it back on the market, and I wrote the remarks section. I said, your feet will caress stones kissed by Tuscan gods. okay? Travertine tile, right? You have a kitchen that Martha Stewart could film an episode in, and your friends and family will be jealous. You have remember the metal roof? This house comes fully equipped with a forever roof. You will never have to change this roof. So I had an attorney from Denver who was moving to Salt Lake with her husband, who's also a doctor. She said, called up, because I ran the ad on Craigslist as well. She says, I have to see the house where my feet will caress stones kissed by Tuscan gods. And she bought it. But it was the sale that did it. You know, it's the sizzle. And sometimes the sizzle is real, like specialty items in the house, whatever you can do to make it unique. And sometimes it's mental. The best of times it's both. So tell that story. And then don't cheap out on the commissions. I don't know how many people I see that, you know, that think that that's just like the best thing ever. Well, it's a hot market. You're stepping over dollars to save pennies. So just
One thought on that. So if I have a house that I own that I'm getting rid of, I've changed the thing. I've put, I'll see what happens at 1.5%. A week later, I'll change it to 2%. And then like a week later, I'll change it to 3%, just to see if that really does the thing in that area. And as soon as it's 3%, my phone's just ringing off the hook with appointments. So I don't know if people are using that as a search field and only sending stuff out to their buyers at 3%. It doesn't matter.
let's be honest, what we're supposed to do, you know, is what's best for the buyers, but nobody wants to get paid less.
No,
It's the same amount of work, so we're not looking. Also,
but sometimes people say like it doesn't matter, buyers will buy it at any price. But it's
Yeah.
like, I'm here to tell you that like 3% is magic.
sure, because to be honest, I can hold the buyer to paying me whatever that they don't get from the seller.
True.
You know, and so I can make the argument it's in the buyer's best interest for me not to show them that property. You know, because if there's others like it, why would I even look? But usually, if it's on the market very long, it's stale. You know, and your best offers. So I've been doing this in multiple states for 20 years, and your best offer comes usually in the first couple of weeks. That's usually, you get your highest, you get your best. 90% of the time, it's going to come in the first 3 weeks. So, and it's a rule of thumb. If you can get, usually in an average market to down market, if you can get 20 people through your house, you'll get an acceptable offer. And so I try to do whatever I can to get 20 people through. So what are you going to do now? You know, we're going to turn knowledge into action. So you got to figure out what you're going to do. So this should be advantageous to you for multiple reasons. Number one is, at some point, you're going to come across a deal as an agent, whether you actively go seeking for that deal or it just falls in your lap, and you're going to want to flip a house and have the fun, because it's a lot of fun. Out of everything I do, flipping is the one that makes me the happiest. Take old crappy houses, make it into something beautiful, right? Wholesaling is the easiest money, but I like flipping the best. So you're going to do it that way, or you're going to work with a client that's going to want to flip a house, or an investor. Who's worked with investors in the past? Working with investors rocks. Now, and I'm not talking about the newbie that's never done a deal, but I'm talking about the guys that are doing 5 to 50 houses a year. Because they're easy, they know what they want, they don't have buyer's remorse, they're not walking, oh my gosh, should we buy it? No, we shouldn't. What about the kids, all that kind of stuff, that dancing around. They want to work with you, and if you know what they're talking about and you can speak their language, it's going to be a lot easier for you. Remember, there are no limits. Don't think outside the box. Think like there is no box. So I spoke in Seattle a number of years ago to a group called Fortune Makers. There was a book that was put out. It was called The Millionaire Next Door. It was written by William Danko and another Princeton professor. Made the New York Times bestseller list. And it's the most exhaustive study ever done on wealth in America. Okay, they interviewed over 3,000 millionaires. And I learned some interesting things, because afterwards I had dinner with them. We both spoke at this event. We had dinner for the speakers, and he said, every year of college you have will exponentially diminish your chances of ever becoming a millionaire. The average millionaire has 18 months or less of college. That's me. You know, and then a statistic that was really interesting was that 85% of college students, when they start college, want to own their own business or be an entrepreneur. 4 years later, it drops to between 8 and 9%. And it's because in America, they tell you, if you don't have a college, you won't make any money. And if you don't make enough money, go back to college and get some more. You hate your job, go pile it on higher and deeper, right? And so it's a fallacy. So you want to think outside the box, realize that there are 3 solutions to every problem, okay? And if you always say that, if you say there's 3 solutions to this problem, you'll find 3 solutions. And so I've taught my team always say there's 3 solutions, because your mind will magically process that and come up with 3 solutions. So when it's flipping houses, etc., that'll be good. I'm always looking for success-oriented agents. If you're an equity agent, this does not apply. I will not take you into my branch. I will help you. I have never turned an equity agent away that needed help on anything. I'm happy to do it, but if you're with somebody else and you think that it might be time to up your game, most of the people that I get that come my way are agents who they want to get in the business, they want to do a lot of business, they also want to work with investors or be investors, because it's not investor real estate and you can't do it in agent real estate, and you can't do investor stuff and vice versa. It's all real estate. I take real estate to a higher level. So when I pull up the Equity Elevate and I look on there to see how many transactions I did, I hit 69. Great. I've got a good team, I got a good process, whatever. But it doesn't matter. And I probably made a ton of money wholesaling. So on a bad year would be 40, a good year would be 100. But if the average wholesaling profits were, I've had some in the last 6 months that have been 80,000, 70, 80,000 bucks, lots in the 20s and 30s. I do that in days, not weeks. The same thing is true with flipping. I've got 10 projects going right now. If you don't have to do it on my scale, I don't want to do it on my scale. I'm moving to Nepal in a few years, and I'm going to work in our charity. That's what I want to do. But if you're interested in taking it to a different level, I'd be happy to talk with you about it. It's a shameless plug, and I think that is the last one. So if there's any questions, I will happily answer a question on anything. Yes, sir, in the green.
I was just curious, how do you go about finding wholesalers?
For wholesalers, so if you get on a list, William, can you turn that off? Because it's like is this going to turn it off? Maybe it's, or.
If you're looking for people, just look for the clients and say, we buy houses, give them a call.
Your best way is to go to Investor Association, so www.slreia.com. William will write it down there. Slreia, slreia.com. You can go there, you can get on a list. I've got too many, I'm like trying to cross people off. But it's funny because I wholesale and I still buy from wholesalers. So.
If you go on an investor, any sort of investment association group here in Utah, and you just say, hey, I'm looking to be added to buyers lists or to create a buyer list on my Facebook page, you'll get a ton of people. So Slreia, what is it, Dad?
slreia.com. I'm on Facebook as Randall Craig Wall. I'll warn you, I don't do much on my business page. It's all my personal page. I am an arch conservative. If that offends you, don't come. But I am also a registered Democrat, and a gun-carrying one. So it's a little bit of a dichotomy. But if you were to come onto my page and say, I want to be on a wholesaling list, and tag me, you would get people responding to you. So all of the investors, all of my investor friends would and yes, I did vote for Trump, but would be happy to do that because I just want to see you guys succeed. It makes me happy that you guys are all here. I like it when people do business because there's a sense of accomplishment, isn't there? You know, Juan, when you put a deal together and you help somebody out and you close it. You know, I mean, it's a good business. Any questions?
And if you want to meet with Randall for whatever reason, feel free to give me a call.
Yeah.
I usually respond quicker to text, but yeah.
And his number is 801-856-5139. Well, thanks for coming. I'm glad you guys could all make it. You know, hopefully it was worthwhile. Hopefully you learned a couple of things. Remember the money triangle, and always ask for business. I mean, that is just so huge that 2/3 of all real estate people leave the appointment without asking for business. And it should be second nature. You know, always be closing. I like Glenn Ross. I'm a little bit older, but you know, always be closing. This coffee's for closers, except for I guess the Mormon version. This cocoa's for closers. But you know, it's you know, that's how we want it to work. Thanks for coming.